Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just want to reiterate again, as my staff and I were visiting on a sidebar here, just Administrator, I know you said that you deal with the sale of the SBLC licenses all the time, but the SBA, as far as we know, has never granted a license to a company that intends to immediately turn around and sell the license. Typically, what we have seen in the past is that the SBA will grant those licenses to companies who plan to originate and service loans for a long period of time. So I do think the funding circle issue is a bit shady. That's for all of our C-SPAN watchers. Shady will be the key word. And just want funding circle to know that we will be watching these activities. So anyway, I'm going to move on to the telework issue, which has been a really big issue for me over the course of about the last 4 years, maybe since we started it during COVID. In response to my information request on telework, you stated that the telework employees are now required to show up to the office only 2.5 days a week. And meanwhile, the SBA did set a very modest goal of reducing your physical footprint by 3%. GAO even rated your agency among the very worst for agency headquarters utilization with a rate of just 9%. The only agencies that were lower were Housing and Urban Development at 7% physical space utilization and the Social Security Administration at 7% utilization. So yes or no, do you agree with the GAO that your headquarters operated at 9% utilization all of last year?
No, my data does not match that. That is must be old data. Headquarters is currently at 50% in terms of occupancy, and note that it is no longer 2.5 days. We are in the office 5 days per, or you said 2 days per pay period. It's now 5 days per pay period, and that is now nationally as well. And so, we have continued to follow the White House's guidance in making sure that our staff is in the office and performing and meeting with small businesses around the country.
Okay, I appreciate that. That GAO report information was from the end of last year. I think it was based on last year's numbers. And now with the telework, you do not have teleworkers any longer, or 50%? What?
Our permanent SBA staff have returned to work to this 5 days of pay period stance. So,
okay, pay period being
every 2 weeks.
2 weeks. So 2.5 days per week.
Per week, correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are you satisfied?
And that's at a minimum requirement. So you have offices. It's really based on mission. Obviously, our disaster team is in the office much more frequently. Our field offices go where they're needed in communities, and so that's the minimum. It really is a mission-focused, and leaders are, of course, encouraged to bring people in whenever there's collaboration or special focus that they need the folks in the office. But we have really upped our standard in terms of our meeting the requests of the White House to ensure that everyone is coming back into the office on a regular basis.
Okay. Do you know that you will have your employees return to 5 days per week?
We continue to work with OMB and follow the guidance, obviously competing for federal workforce to make sure that we can retain our workforce and fill vacancies aggressively across the federal workers.
Okay. Now, I don't want folks to misunderstand me. Telework is fine as long as it is meeting your goals for those employees and that it is auditable. Do you know, are there standards in place to be able to go back and monitor the work product that is coming from the employees that are teleworking?
SBA had to quickly shift during the pandemic to remote working tirelessly to get out the pandemic relief. So we definitely invested in systems and processes to be able to maintain performance, and leaders, continue to have tools to track performance of their workers. Yes.
Okay, and thank you for that. It is a big issue with so many of the agencies. We do continue to receive information from actual employees within the various agencies. So basically, our whistleblowers that are out there, their agencies are not responsive to our constituents. So I do hope that the SBA is able to meet the needs of all of our small businesses and constituents across our various states. This is something that will be very important to me moving forward. So I look forward to working with the SBA on these issues.
And if I could add, we definitely hope to do so. The budget allows for us to continue to maintain the service that we're currently performing on our COVID pandemic programs, thus the increase. That funding is really critical.
Okay. Thank you, Administrator. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Let me just point out that the second vote has been called.